Have you ever wondered how the first telephone was invented? The year was 1876, and the man behind this revolutionary device was none other than Alexander Graham Bell. A Scottish-born inventor, teacher of the deaf and scientist, Bell had a profound interest in speech and communication, which led him to conceive the idea of the telephone. Imagine a world where distance was no longer a barrier to conversation. That was Bell's vision. He dreamed of a device that could transmit spoken words over vast distances. And how did he plan to achieve this? By converting sound vibrations into electrical signals. Now, you might be wondering, how does one turn sound into electricity? The answer lies in the initial prototype of the telephone. The heart of this device was a diaphragm, typically fashioned from an animal's skin or thin membrane. This diaphragm was attached to a coil of wire, which sat within the influence of a permanent magnet. Picture this. As a person speaks into the device, their voice creates sound waves. These waves cause the diaphragm to vibrate, altering the distance between the diaphragm and the magnet. This movement induces electrical currents in the wire coil, transforming the original sound waves into electrical signals. Working alongside Bell was his collaborator, Thomas Watson. Together, they ventured into uncharted territory, designing a device that could transmit these electrically converted sound waves. Their hard work and ingenious design laid the groundwork for what would become the first telephone. The real triumph came on a fateful day in March 1876. Picture this, if you will, Alexander Graham Bell, a brilliant mind of his time standing before a peculiar contraption of wires, magnets, and an animal skin diaphragm. He takes a deep breath, leans in, and utters a phrase that would echo down the annals of history. "Mr. Watson, come here, I want to see you." These were the first words ever transmitted by telephone, spoken by Bell to his collaborator, Thomas Watson, who was in another room. These words, as simple as they may seem, signaled a victory over the colossal challenge of transmitting human voice over a distance. The significance of this moment cannot be overstated. It was a breakthrough, a leap forward in human communication that would forever change the way we connect. Imagine the thrill of hearing a human voice, clear and distinct, coming from a machine for the first time. The realization that words, those delicate carriers of thought and emotion, could now leap over walls and cross vast distances, all through the power of electricity and magnetism. This was no small feat. It was a testament to the ingenuity and perseverance of Bell and Watson. But let's not forget the science behind this marvel. The telephone worked by converting sound vibrations into electrical signals that could be transmitted over a wire and then reconstructed at the receiving end. The diaphragm vibrated with the sound waves of Bell's voice, changing the distance between itself and the magnet. This, in turn, induced an electric current in the wire, creating a signal that corresponded to the original sound. This was the magic of the telephone. It transformed the intangible, the sound of a human voice, into something that could be captured, carried and released, all without losing its essence. And with these words, a new era in communication was born, an era where distance would no longer be a barrier to human connection, where voices could travel farther and faster than ever before. The telephone, born from a simple utterance, would go on to reshape the world in ways that Bell himself could hardly have imagined. But Bell was not alone in his pursuit of a voice-transmitting device. In the shadows, another inventor, Elisha Gray, was also working on a similar concept. Gray and Bell ended up racing to the patent office, each clutching their respective designs for this groundbreaking technology. The day was February 14th, 1876, a date that would go down in history. Both inventors filed their patent applications on this day, sparking a controversy that would simmer for years. Who was the true inventor of the telephone? The tussle for the patent was fierce, but it was ultimately resolved in Bell's favor. Despite Gray's simultaneous submission, Bell was awarded the patent for the telephone on March 7th, 1876. The decision left an indelible mark on the annals of invention, recognizing Bell as the official inventor of the telephone. The contentious race to the patent office was resolved, and the stage was set for the telephone to change the world. With the patent officially granted, the telephone was ready to take the world by storm. The year was 1876, and Alexander Graham Bell's invention had just unlocked a new frontier in human communication. But this was only the beginning. In the years that followed, telecommunication technology would rapidly evolve, driven by the revolutionary potential of the telephone. The first practical telephones began to appear in the late 1870s. These devices were more advanced than Bell's initial prototype, featuring improvements in sound quality and transmission distance. Yet they still adhered to Bell's fundamental principle, the conversion of sound waves into electrical signals, enabling voices to travel across vast distances. But a telephone is only as useful as the network it's connected to, and in the early 1880s, the first telephone networks started to emerge. These networks were a maze of wires and switchboards connecting homes, businesses, and government offices. The telephone was no longer a scientific curiosity, it was becoming an integral part of everyday life. These networks grew at an astonishing pace. By the turn of the 20th century, millions of telephones were in use across the globe, enabling people to converse with one another like never before. Conversations that once required weeks of waiting for a letter to arrive could now happen in real time, bridging the gap between distant cities and even different continents. The telephone was more than just a device. It was a phenomenon that transformed the way we connect with each other. It replaced the telegraph as the primary means of long-distance communication, and it paved the way for the technologies we take for granted today. Everything from the mobile phone in your pocket to the internet that connects the world. And so, as we look back on the late 1870s and early 1880s, we see a world in the midst of a communication revolution. The telephone was taking off, and its impact was profound. It was reshaping societies, economies, and cultures, bringing the world closer together. The telephone had arrived, and the world of communication would never be the same. The first telephone in 1876 was a marvel of innovation, a simple device, yet its impact has echoed through the ages, shaping the course of human communication. Alexander Graham Bell's invention was more than just a machine, it was a catalyst that sparked a communication revolution, paving the way for our hyper-connected world today. The telephone's initial purpose was simple, to transmit spoken words over a distance. However, its potential was vast, transcending the limits of physical space and time. It bridged the gap between people separated by vast distances, fostering connections and facilitating interactions. It took communication from the realm of the physical and brought it into the realm of the invisible, the intangible. The telephone also played a significant role in shaping history. It was instrumental in the rapid exchange of information during urgent situations, crucial in decision-making processes, and even pivotal in war strategies. The telephone has been a silent witness to countless historical events, its wires carrying the weight of world-changing decisions. As we moved into the 20th century, the telephone evolved, becoming more efficient, more accessible, and more integral to our lives. It paved the way for the development of advanced telecommunication technologies such as mobile phones and the internet. Today, we live in an age where communication is instantaneous and information is at our fingertips, all thanks to the legacy of the telephone. The telephone's enduring legacy is evident in our day-to-day lives. It's in the way we connect with loved ones, conduct business, and even how we learn. It's in the voice of a friend across the miles, the ring of a business deal being sealed, the click of a teacher's voice in a virtual classroom. It's in every text message sent, every video call made, every piece of information shared.